In this tutorial video, I'm going to demonstrate how you can access your shared folder at home without the need for remote connectivity software such as TeamViewer, AnyDesk, AnyViewer, or even Windows Remote Desktop, just simply with port forwarding. The topics we will cover include setting up port forwarding on modem router and the firewall, configuring port forwarding when you have a second router, connecting to an SQL Server with port forwarding using SSMS. Let's go! Before we delve into the router settings, visit ping.eu to check your current home IP address. It's important to note that your external IP address differs from your internal IP address. This is your external IP address. Assigned by your internet service provider, is your unique identifier for accessing the internet. On the other hand, the internal IP address is assigned by your home router, allowing PCs in your house to communicate with your modem router. For setting up port forwarding, we need to know the external IP address. Then find the IP address of the computer you want to share a folder with. Open the search bar on your computer, type in CMD and press enter. This will open the command prompt, type ipconfig and press enter. This will display your IP configuration, including your IP address. Take note of the default gateway IP address, then open a web browser and type it into the address bar. Press enter to access your modem router's settings page. Since I'm using a Me router, it doesn't require me to enter a username. However, for most modem routers, the username and password are typically admin. In some cases, the username and password can be found on the back of the modem router. After entering my password, we should navigate to the port forwarding menu. The layout varies across different modem routers, but you can typically find this setting under the firewall or NAT sections, or something similar. In the port forwarding rules, select Add Rules. Then, assign a name to this rule and enter the external port. For the file sharing function, the ports are typically 139 or 445. You can try both if you wish. Finally, enter the IP address of the PC whose folder you want to share. After completing this step, navigate to the search bar and type Firewall. Click on Windows Defender Firewall. In the new window that opens, select Advanced Settings. This action will lead you to another window titled Windows Defender Firewall Advanced Settings. Next, select Inbound Rules, then sort the local port by clicking on the title. Look for port number 139 or 445. If rules already exist for this port, double-click on the rules and check the Action Group box. Ensure that Allow the Connection radio button is selected, then click OK. If these rules do not yet exist, click New Rule on the right panel. Select the port option and then click Next. Choose TCP and select Specific Local Port. In the text box provided, enter the port number 139, then click Next. Select Allow the Connection and then click Next. In this section, you can choose when this rule applies. Please note that these profiles only apply to the PC that you have allowed for connection, and do not apply to external PCs attempting to connect. Since this PC is located at home, there is no difference whether you choose to allow connections under domain, private, or public networks. Therefore, you can simply click Next to proceed. Last step, assign a name for this rule, and put your description below. Then click Finish. You can find the new rules you just created by sorting the port number. Here is the new rules I just created. Remember to do the same for port 445 as well. Now, let's proceed to ping.eu to verify if this port is open for connection. On the ping.eu webpage, select Port Check. On the Port Check page, enter the external IP address and the port number that we want to forward. Then, enter the verification code and click Go. If the result displays as open, it means your shared folder is now accessible from an external network. Let's test the connection with a PC that is connected to a different network. First, I'll check my external IP to confirm that this is indeed a separate network. Now, I'll open a file explorer and enter the IP address of the PC for which I've set up port forwarding. As I can now see the shared folder on that PC, this confirms that I can connect to the shared folder from anywhere. Next, I will guide you on how to configure port forwarding for a PC that is connected via a secondary router and does not have an external IP address. In some countries, internet service providers mandate the use of specific modems for their users.
You can have any modem you want, as long as it is from us.
Often, these modems lack advanced functionalities such as Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi mesh, not to mention Wi-Fi 7. In my case, I use a multitude of smart home devices, and the modem provided by the internet service provider is insufficient for my needs. This necessitates the use of an additional router. However, due to constraints imposed by the internet service provider on the type of modem that can connect to their service, these routers are unable to connect directly to the internet. The additional router must connect through the main router. Occasionally, the additional router needs to activate DHCP to enable functions such as Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi mesh. This will create a separate subnet, which requires further configuration if you wish to continue port forwarding. First, we need to determine the IP address of the second router. In my case, the second router is a me router. Therefore, I will repeat the same steps outlined in Chapter 1, which involve accessing the router settings menu through a browser. Next, verify the IP address assigned to the second layer router by checking the LAN status page. Please note that each router's configuration menu may vary. You can typically find this information on a page labeled Status, LAN, or something similar. This is the IP address of second layer router. Noted down, we will need it when setting at main router configuration. Please make a note of the default gateway IP address, which is the primary router's IP address. This is necessary for accessing the main router's configuration. In your browser's address bar, enter the default gateway IP address, followed by your username and password. If you don't have these credentials, don't hesitate to ask the technician from your internet service provider who installed the router. This information isn't confidential, as you may need it to reset your Wi-Fi password occasionally. We are now going to explore the concept of a DMZ, or demilitarized zone, which is used in cybersecurity. A DMZ is a physical or logical subnet that separates an organization's internal local area network, LAN, from untrusted networks, typically the internet. Both DMZ and port forwarding are methods used to enhance internet security, but they function differently. In the main router configuration, we can't use port forwarding to allow the outer network to access the second layer router because the router doesn't have a port. Therefore, we will use DMZ to enable the outer network to connect to the second layer router by entering the IP address of the second layer router. Remember to configure port forwarding at second layer router as what I have shown you in Chapter 1. After all set, you are ready to get your shared folder access from outer network. Finally, I will show you how to connect to your SQL Server by port forwarding. However, please note that port forwarding can be risky, regardless for small home users. There are hackers who constantly scan the internet for loopholes to attack company servers and demand ransom. Therefore, it is important to be cautious and do this at your own risk. Similar to Chapter 1, add port forwarding rules in your router configuration menu. The port used for SMS is usually 1433. Add the new rules with port number 1433, then follow the instructions as shown in Chapter 1 to configure firewall inbound rules accordingly. Now, I go to another PC that connected with different network. Open SSMS and navigate to the Server Connection menu. Key in the IP address of the SQL Server, taking note that it should be the IP address from your ISP, not the LAN IP address. The format should be IP address, port number, / and database name. Then key in your username and password and click Connect. Congratulations! You have successfully connected to your SQL database and can now view your database information just as you did at home. However, please be cautious about security issues. Port forwarding means that you are opening up your PC on your home network to the world. Here are some tips that can help you enhance your network security. 1. Configure your firewall to only allow incoming connections on the ports that are being forwarded, as I showed you in Chapter 1. 2. Change the default login credentials to something more secure, or create different user credentials on your PC and assign access rights accordingly. 3. Use a firewall device between the router and computer. A firewall at the router could limit what IPs can connect, and a software firewall can restrict IPs too. 4. Limit traffic by country or even by IP address by setting whitelisting both on your router and your firewall. 5. Limit bandwidth so that you don't receive DDoS attacks. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time and attention. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Your feedback is invaluable to me and helps me improve my content. If you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking the like button and subscribing to my channel. Your support means the world to me and keeps me motivated to create more content for you. I hope to see you again soon.